Tonight, hundreds of millions of dollars spent getting rid of green energy projects.
$231 million is apparently not the final number. It could be higher than that.
Taxpayers are on the hook to foot the entire bill. Plus,
what shocked me is they got no conscience at all. They had no regards to human life.
a brazen car theft leaves a salesman traumatized and the dealership warning others. And a historical plaque is unveiled in Leslieville, marking the neighborhood's place on the Underground Railway. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. Taxpayers have paid out more than $230 million, the result of the Ontario government's decision to scrap a number of wind farms and renewable energy projects when the PCs took power last year. Well, during the election campaign, they promised it wouldn't cost a thing. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has that story.
Dismantling a wind turbine built only last year. This wind farm in Prince Edward County is being torn down right now to fulfill a Doug Ford election promise.
They want to put up thousands of wind turbines without consent.
One of Ford's first acts after becoming premier, scrapping this wind energy project called White Pines. The PCs said it wouldn't cost Ontarians, but it turns out there is a price tag.
Throwing away $231 million not to build renewable energy.
The NDP uncovered the spending buried in this document that closes the books on the province's financial year. It's listed as simply other transactions, and it's just shy of $231 million.
Wasting $231 million to cancel hydro contracts is the sort of thing that the previous Liberal government did during the gas plant scandal.
Order.
The similarities are striking.
The Liberal government of Dalton McGuinty cancelled 2 gas-fired power plants in Mississauga and Oakville. The Auditor General pegged that cost at more than $1 billion. Those gas plants were in Liberal ridings.
I'll take fair criticism for decisions that were made while we were in government, but I also believe that the government's going down the wrong path with energy and electricity, and tearing up these contracts was the absolute wrong thing to do.
The unwanted wind farm is in the riding of this PC cabinet minister.
This was a project that residents of Prince Edward County had been fighting against since it was proposed.
This municipality was an unwilling host from day one. They did not want the turbines, and we did the right thing.
The Ford government is blaming the cost of scrapping wind farms on the Liberals. The PCs say the previous government approved too many green energy projects that would have generated electricity that Ontario doesn't need.
For this government to rip up contracts and literally rip wind turbines out of the ground is a huge waste of money. It makes absolutely no sense to me.
Today, the government admitted the final price tag for cancelling that wind farm in Prince Edward County is not in yet. The PCs also say that not paying for power from those turbines will keep your electricity bills lower down the road. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, a busy night for Toronto police responding to 2 stabbings downtown. The first one happened near Queen and Broadview just after 8 o'clock. Paramedics rushed a young man to hospital with serious injuries. It appears he was stabbed on a TTC bus. Well, about an hour after that, police were called to the lobby of a building near Dundas and George Street, where they found a man who'd been stabbed. He also was rushed to hospital with very serious injuries. Police say the suspect fled the scene. They don't have a description of that person at this time. And 5 people taken to hospital tonight, 2 of them in critical condition after a collision in Mississauga. This one happened at the intersection of Mississauga Road and Meadowvale Boulevard. 2 vehicles collided. 2 passengers in one of the vehicles were rushed to hospital with life-threatening injuries. The 3 people in the other vehicle were taken to hospital with minor injuries. Police shut the intersection down for several hours tonight while they looked into what happened. With Toronto now getting the go-ahead to impose new rules on short-term rentals like Airbnb, there are questions tonight of just how the city will enforce those rules, which are meant to increase the number of units available for long-term rentals. Alicia Chasson looks into that.
It's an estimated 5,000 units that are out there that could very well be used for long-term rentals.
Toronto's rental supply is low, and what is out there is increasingly expensive. The new regulations are supposed to put more viable rental stock on the market. It's part crackdown, part balanced approach.
By creating home sharing opportunities, but making sure that housing is being used choose for the residents of Toronto to be their homes.
Here are some of the big changes. You're only allowed to host short-term rentals in your primary residence. People can rent out their entire home or a max of 3 bedrooms. And while you're away, an entire home can be rented out as a short-term rental for a maximum of 180 nights a year. People who live in secondary suites can also participate, as long as your basement apartment, for example, is your principal residence. While the city sees this as a win, longtime realtor Brendan Powell says
it's not going to jump right back into the rental market. I don't think it's that simple. A lot of those people they're not going to get the cash flow that they want, or they don't really want to be landlords. So I think they're going to see more stuff on the market to sell, and there's going to be some market back on the market for the renters for sure, and then there's going to be some people that just pull out completely.
I could see people putting those basement apartments in someone else's name.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be people skirting the rules, and there's going to be enforcement, and that's going to be a little cat and mouse game.
Hosts are now going to have to register their properties with the city and pay a fee of $50. Details around enforcement are still being figured out, but one thing's for sure.
We will be enforcing very much on a complaint basis. This will help us to deal with a lot of the issues that we have with the ghost hotels, with the party homes. Many of those issues, we're going to have the tools now to enforce that, because there will be a bylaw that has a program, and that home sharing companies will have to be licensed and will have to abide by the rules.
So when will these new rules come into effect? We don't even know that yet. We're expecting more information in December, and these regulations could be challenged even further. Regulating the sharing economy, as we've seen in the past, is not an easy fight. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Nick Cernkovich joins us tonight with his first look at the forecast. And Nick, I find that map behind you kind of deceptive. Tomorrow's going to be gray, not green.
Yeah, exactly. What we're talking about is temperatures, which is also deceptive because today, compared to previous, the last week, has actually felt kind of warm, but it's still below seasonal. 4 degrees is what we hit through the day today, just briefly. Otherwise, it hovered around 3 degrees. This came with cloud cover. Gray days ahead for the next few as we head into the weekend. By tomorrow morning, though, look for some fog patches to develop once again, and then some rain showers heading into Thursday. The good news in all of this, tomorrow temperatures at about seasonal 6 degrees. We'll have more on your forecast coming up in just a bit.
Okay, thanks, Nick.
You bet.
People who live near the Victoria Park subway station are finally learning tonight when a pedestrian bridge will be replaced. It's been a year since it's collapsed near Crescent Town Elementary School. Fortunately, no one was hurt. And as Natalie Nanowski tells us, the city wants to make sure that kind of accident doesn't happen again.
The bridge that used to run across this street kept children away from cars. Now mornings outside Crescent Town Elementary School are a lot more hectic.
So many teachers need to stand over here watching the other kids cross from there to here.
The congestion here at the end of school is unbelievable. You don't want to be driving down this road.
The bridge collapsed last year. No one was injured, but it revealed a challenging situation. The structure is partially owned by the Toronto District School Board. The TDSB maintained its section. The other part belongs to Pinedale Properties.
In this instance, we had a landlord that wasn't really taking the lead on that, and they let the property fall into a state of disrepair.
That sparked the city to review similar structures. As for this bridge, the school board worked with Pinedale to design a replacement and a plan to take care of it.
To make sure that there is regular maintenance, agreed upon maintenance and repair going forward, so we don't have an issue like this again.
The property company isn't saying much about what it learned from all of this.
I'm sorry, Brad, I don't think I can really comment on that.
The company also refused to speak on camera. Residents say they're unimpressed with how management handled the situation.
I grew up near this area, and I just realized that the property managers or the owners, they don't really care about this area. And if that school wasn't part of TDSB, you wouldn't see anything good here.
Areas like this deserve a lot more focus. I feel like we often get
passed.
The city and the TDSB say if everything goes as planned, the new modular bridge is going to be installed in January. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
This is for the kids, community, and then, and as importantly, as a city. This is a city who's on the upswing.
This Oshawa man is trying to convert a city-owned storage space into a center for young athletes. But he's run into interference with community groups blocking all his shots. We'll tell you what, coming up. Welcome back. Call it Storage Wars, the Oshawa edition. A local businessman is trying to convert a city-owned storage facility into a not-for-profit training center for young athletes. It's above a hockey rink in a local arena and houses dozens of caged lockers. But the proposal is facing pushback from community groups. Farah Morali explains why.
So this is a storage locker unit for all the associations.
Welcome to the second floor of Del Park Homes Centre. It's a series of caged lockers housing everything from trophies to equipment. But Kirk Lowe sees something else.
I envision having equipment over here where they can do functional fitness, so rubber mats the whole way, and this part over here being all a grass turf where they can run.
Lowe wants to take advantage of these tall ceilings and the 5,500 square feet to build a place where young athletes can train.
There's a lot of hockey teams and ball hockey here, so they could have some sport-specific training over there so they could practice their shooting, passing.
He's mapped it all out, even fundraised $250,000. But there's a hitch.
We've been using those facilities for I think probably since the beginning, which is probably about 15 years.
The city-owned space is currently rented out to seniors and not-for-profit associations.
When you think about the fact that there are, I don't know, 30 groups, not-for-profits, small little organizations that have a place with reasonable rent to store their equipment or whatever, and the fact that they're going to lose that, that's a shame.
Well, the proposal came to us, and I'm very positive about it.
Lowe's project has the support of this city councillor, but the city can't guarantee where exactly the groups could move their items or at what cost.
I don't think they've actually zeroed in on where particular facilities are underused and storage space could be available.
Last week, a joint committee heard depositions from Lowe and others. A survey found the vast majority of tenants of the storage spaces don't want to move. So the committee voted not to recommend Lowe's project to the city. But the final decision rests in the hands of council, which is expected to make a decision on Lowe's proposal early next month.
There's a lot of good that can happen.
And with that, Lowe is still holding out hope that these cages can come down and make way for his bigger dreams. Farah Morali, CBC News, Oshawa.
Well, a Toronto car dealership is warning others after a reckless theft left its salesman traumatized. The robbery involved a high-end vehicle, and as Kelda Yun tells us, the same suspect is believed to be responsible for a string of similar thefts around the GTA.
He turned on the car, he locked the doors.
A salesman waits by a Mercedes as a man looks inside, but then in a flash, he drives off.
Right there, right there. See how dangerous that was?
Almost hitting a woman with a stroller. It happened at this dealership near Lawrence and Dufferin.
Someone walked in, he asked to see that white GLE. We showed him the car, it was parked near the front, and he sat inside.
Daniel Hassan's family owns the dealership. He says the salesman was holding the key.
With these vehicles, you can start them even when the key is outside of the car. As long as you're nearby, you can have easy access to start the vehicle, even drive off.
The vehicle identical to this one, costing about $46,000. Nearly 3 months after it was stolen, it hasn't been recovered. Meanwhile, the salesman is now on stress leave.
He was very frightened from this accident. Could not go outside alone by himself to show the vehicles to any of my customers.
Rima Shath is the general manager.
What shocked me is they got no conscience at all. They had no regards to human life.
Toronto police say they are still looking for the suspect, described as black, 5'7", with a skinny build.
This was just the first in a rash of thefts at high-end car dealerships. Later that same day, a suspect with a similar description and using the same tactic walked into a car dealership in Oakville and stole a Mercedes. And 5 days later, the same thing happened in Vaughan, this time leaving the owner of the dealership with serious injuries.
He had attempted to stop the vehicle from fleeing by getting in front of it, jumping on the hood of it, but that vehicle did take off. And
York Regional Police says they are still investigating and are working with other police forces given the similarities. Unfortunately, though, as for retrieving the vehicles, they say it's highly unlikely.
That vehicle is removed from wherever it's taken from the property and very quickly loaded into a container, sealed up, and off it goes, never to be seen again.
Back at this dealership, they are taking steps to stop thefts from happening again.
Before we give him the access to the vehicle, is to get a background from him, like to get information, where he lives, a phone number.
They are also trying to make it harder for thieves to get away by blocking the exits with vehicles.
Kelda Yun, CBC News, Toronto.
I'm Doretta in Leslieville. It's a neighborhood with an important connection to Black history and helping people escape slavery in the United States. That's now marked by this plaque. I'll also tell you about one woman who only found out a few months ago that she has a connection to that history. I'll have that story coming up.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Canada making history at the Davis Cup today, facing the U.S. First up, Vancouver's Vasek Posipsil takes the opening match, winning 2 sets from Riley Opelka. Then it's Denis Shapovalov's turn, facing Taylor Fritz. He too takes the first set, but then match point in the second. He goes out in style with another ace. For the first time in 16 Davis Cup ties, Canada beats the U.S. to advance to the quarterfinals Thursday against either Belgium or Australia. And a new plaque unveiled today in Leslieville is hoping to mark that neighborhood's connection to the Underground Railroad. Doretta brings us a story of one woman who lives in Leslieville and only recently found out she has an ancestor who arrived here that way.
Walk along Queen Street and you might miss it, but this new plaque has deep meaning with its connection to the Underground Railroad, giving Black people from the United States a route to escape slavery.
Thank you for giving me my history back. Thank you.
Marnie Brunton only found out she had a direct link back in the summer. She met local historian Joanne Doucette through their dogs. Doucette started to research her family. Not easy since Brunton was adopted. Then she hit the jackpot, a picture of George Washington Milford, born in 1852.
She found this picture of somebody that looked exactly like me. Like, I've never seen anybody that looked like me in my life. So she basically introduced me to my ancestors. So, Joanne, thank you.
We know her roots are deep here, but whew, just digging. And I'm passionate about digging for the truth. Every small town has a Four Corners. This is the Four Corners of the Black community in Leslieville.
Doucette gives walking tours of the area and wants its history remembered.
So where the lights are at Eastern Avenue, that was Ashbridges Bay, where refugees from slavery cut ice. Probably the most miserable job in Leslieville.
Brunton says she has a new connection to her neighborhood.
It's amazing to know that the Underground Railway went through Ashbridges Bay when that's where I live. That's our stomping ground. So it feels different there. Feels different, you know, in a predominantly, you know, white society that, you know, you absolutely belong here. We all belong here.
She says for her, it's just the start of searching for her family's story and its place in this neighborhood. Doretta, CBC News, Toronto.
Nick Cernkovich is back with his extended forecast. I'm hoping we'll see some sunshine in the next few days. Anything on tap?
Well, a few hints here and there, but for the most part, we're looking at cloud cover. I think by tomorrow afternoon, though, we may see a little bit in the way of sunny breaks across the GTA. I want to get back to the temperature story, though, because when I talked to you just a few minutes ago, I was saying today felt warm relative to what we've had over the last week, but still below seasonal. Here's a look at seasonal temperatures, 6.2 degrees. That's the average for this time of year. We only hit 4 and just briefly today. We're actually going to get up to that tomorrow. Now, in terms of the cloud cover, we've got it sticking around for tonight. We'll see a little bit in the way of breaks in cloud cover through the overnight, and that'll help us develop fog in some areas again, especially to the southwest of the GTA. Now, this model actually showing a bit more in the way of cloud cover than I think we're going to see through tomorrow afternoon. I think we'll probably see a mix of sun and cloud through sort of the mid-afternoon hours as another system approaches, but then it clouds over again into Thursday, and in fact by Thursday afternoon we're looking at rain showers. Now this won't be a lot of rain, but it'll be about 2 to 5 millimeters of rain, and it'll come right through the afternoon commute and last into the evening. Winds are going to be calm through tonight as we head through tomorrow. Same story. It's really not until Thursday sort of afternoon where the winds start to pick up, and this will be the story heading into the weekend. So breezy into Thursday night, Friday, but the next 24 to 36 hours, actually pretty calm in terms of the winds. Fog patches down in southwestern Ontario as well, and the risk for some freezing drizzle, especially as you get sort of in the lee side of Lake Huron, Georgian Bay area. As we move through tomorrow afternoon, again, cloud cover starting to clear by the afternoon, highs to about 6 degrees in southwestern Ontario. Around the Golden Horseshoe, we're looking at temperatures around 0 to -1. Up around the Markham area and areas further north, watch for icy road conditions tomorrow morning. And again, this just in the lee of Georgian Bay. Fog patches, especially to the southwest of the GTA. Tomorrow afternoon, highs to about 6-7 degrees across the region. Here's a look at your next 5 days. Temperatures hover around seasonal into Thursday, but into the weekend, back down below seasonal.
Okay,
Mike.
Thanks, Nick.
You bet.
Well, a different kind of vending machine was just installed at Ryerson University. You won't get chocolate out of it. We'll tell you more coming up. A Ryerson University student has come up with a novel way to collect socks for Toronto's homeless shelters by making donating as easy as using a vending machine.
There's a lot of homeless people in this area specifically, and I was trying to sort of rack my brains of ways to creatively make a difference. And so the idea of the vending machine came about.
When you buy a pair of novelty socks at the machine, a second pair comes out for you to donate. Those behind the project say new socks are some of the most needed but least donated items at homeless shelters. Customers can donate their socks at a bin right beside the machine, or if they want, they can personally deliver them.
Obviously, homelessness is not going to go away, but if we can make their day a little bit brighter by, just chatting with them, maybe leaving them with something behind, I think that's what we can do.
The project is partnered with Canadian charity Socks for Souls. They'll be delivering the socks throughout the GTA. The Ryerson vending machine is the first in the city. If it's a success, they hope to expand it to other schools as well as hospitals and airports. What a fantastic idea. Well, tomorrow morning, the Grammy nominations come out, and Tom Power is convening a special panel on Q to break them down and get a window on who the industry is celebrating these days. You can hear that tomorrow at 10 a.m. on CBC Radio 1. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.